What's good, people? Today, the topic of interest is 3 requirements of growth, part 1. So I've pinned some of these notes from my brother PJ. I heard him preach it this morning and I just thought, oh, that game is good. So we're going to get straight into it. Okay, so the first requirement of growth is consistency. Consistency is required. If you want to grow, if you want to elevate, if you want to separate yourself from the pack, you must first of all be willing to submit yourself to particular disciplines on a consistent basis, on a daily basis, ideally, because that's how you grow. Most people are not consistent. Most people aren't willing to stick to things long enough. Because the funny thing about growth and progress is that growth and progress are things that compound. They add up. All the efforts that you put in, they add up, they count for something. And the growth curve is extremely steep. So it starts off like this. Somebody starts off with trying to make progress. Maybe they're trying to get in shape, or they're trying to elevate their mind. You're trying to study. It starts off like this. You start putting in effort and it seems like nothing's happening. It's like, dang, I've been putting all these hours in and I'm getting nothing. But then the funny thing about the growth curve is that it's steep. All that effort you've put in, it adds up and it hits you. And then all of a sudden the curve goes like this. You shoot up, you progress, you skyrocket. All of a sudden you've hit a new level and you're like, huh? Where's all this come from? It's kind of like when somebody starts getting in shape. When somebody starts training and they're going to the gym, the first few months you're like, I don't really see much. It's like, yeah, they're trying. But then 4 months down the line, months down the line, 6 to a year, you see them again. The person's chiseled, they've got abs, their countenance has changed. And you ask yourself, when was the moment the person got swole? When was the moment the person got jacked? You can't pinpoint that moment, right? Because it compounded. Their effort added up. They stayed consistent. They weathered the storm. And the progression curve came and it went boop and took them to a whole new level. But one key component of consistency that often gets overlooked is the thing that we call momentum. You want to get momentum first because that's what's going to allow you to keep the consistency. The hardest thing to get is momentum. And if I'm going to address momentum, I have to address physics. So I'm going to bore you guys with a little bit of physics real quick. So in physics, you've got a thing that we call Newton's law. And Newton's first law is what we call the law of inertia. So the law of inertia basically says that objects that are at rest tend to stay at rest. But objects that are in motion tend to remain in motion and pick up speed. So what that's getting at is that once you get moving, it's easier to keep moving. So it's kind of like this. It's kind of like when you go to the park and you go to that big roundabout. Right. When you're on the roundabout, all your friends hop on the roundabout and then you start pushing the little roundabout to start trying to pick up speed. Now, your friends are heavy. They're busy chanting. They're like, come on, push more. You're busy pushing and you're gruff. You're like, dang, my friends are heavy. Right. But then after you've done like two full circles, the roundabout begins to pick up speed and it becomes easier and easier to keep pushing because you're starting to pick up momentum. Then the roundabout starts going fast enough for you to be able to hop on the roundabout and enjoy the ride with your friends. And then as it begins to slow down, you can hop off and you can exert significantly less pressure, significantly less effort to keep it moving. That's how consistency works. When you start and you decide that I'm going to do this with my life, or I'm going to commit to get myself in shape, I'm going to commit to studying consistently, I'm going to commit to reading, it like the first few days that when you begin to, you're excited and it's like, yeah, I can push through. But what will happen is that after maybe the 4th, 5th to a week, it gets very difficult. Things will become inconvenient. There'll be moments and times where you can decide to just tap out. So for example, when I committed to doing these videos daily on Insta, I said I'm gonna do them daily no matter what. The first three days weren't a problem. The 4th to the 7th day, all hell broke loose. Like I had things go wrong in my life. Nothing that deep, but things went wrong where I lost loads of hours in my day. And there was a point where I had to record some of the videos at like 1 a.m. in the morning just to make sure that I'd upload for that day to catch up. Now I could have made the excuse like, oh, things have gone wrong. It's not my fault. I can control it. I'll just do it again tomorrow. But no, had I done that, I would have broken the chain of momentum. Right, it's easier to keep moving once you've got yourself moving, but you have to go through that initial grind phase, that initial phase where it's difficult, that initial phase where it's inconvenient, because growth isn't just gonna come and visit you in the form of convenience. Growth is very, very inconvenient. You have to be considered. You have to be mindful. It has to be something that you're doing purposely, right? But it starts off with that picking up that momentum. Once you've got that pendulum swinging, it's easier to keep it going. And now you can build other habits. It's easier to keep moving once you've already got moving. So that's the message for today, guys. You want to start off with being consistent. So first of all, let's work on picking up that momentum. So go through that little graft period, that period where it's inconvenient. Stick at the thing long enough, because remember how that growth curve works. Things compound over time. It adds up. You spike up. So that's the video of the day. You guys take care, and I'll be back again tomorrow for the next one. Peace.